Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Bobby with Tech360.tv here in Chinatown in Singapore to do another camera review of some sorts, but it's a little bit different because we are going to talk about a camera that is very different from any other digital camera we've seen on the market. And we thought this would be the perfect place to bring it out because this is the kind of environment this camera was designed to be used in. This is the Leica M10 D. Come on, let's do some shots and let's see how this camera works out. Now, before we get into what makes the Leica M10 D so unique, we first got to talk a little bit about the history of Leica and where it comes from. Now, the M, of course, is the pinnacle camera in the Leica lineup, okay? It's, I would say, one of the most expensive. It is historical. I mean, Leica's illustrious history in photography is well documented, and I mean, some of the best photographers used Leica to capture historical moments. And the Leica M digital class has been around since the M8, the M9, the M240, 262, then now we're at the M10. There's been a few iterations of the M10. I think it was a couple years ago the M10 came about, 24 megapixel full frame sensor, and then the M10P came out about just a few months ago. And the M10P, if you want to know the difference between the Leica M10 and the M10P, is basically you remove the red dot, and then the M10P also had the quietest shutter Leica's ever produced, even compared to film cameras, and a touchscreen. Then the M10D came out. And the M10D, what is that? That is a digital Leica M10 with the same qualities as the M10P with the quiet shutter, but there's no digital screen on the back of this. No screen at all, as a matter of fact. I mean, it looks like a film camera. What you have there is a dial with exposure, and then you have a few different options for power and Wi-Fi, which I'm going to get into in just a bit. Now, if you can tell on this top portion of it, this is the Leica VisaFlex. This is a EVF adapter that you can pop onto the cameras, or any Leica digital camera for that matter that has the connection to it. And this allows you to magnify, do focus peaking, and it's great for fast lenses, especially a Summilux 1.4 or a Noctilux at 0.95 or 1.25 for the 75 millimeter, because it's such a shallow depth of field. And if you try to focus with a rangefinder, now the rangefinder has two boxes, and you try to line them up, and once the image in between those boxes is sharp, that means the image is focused. So there's no multiple focus points, it's one. It's one on a Leica. But when you're shooting in lower light, you might find that challenging if your eyesight's not that great like mine, so this is where the VisaFlex comes in handy. So you'll see me put this on the camera throughout this review. But that's in essence of what the Leica M is about. In terms of, there's no eye tracking, you have 5 shots continuous in drive mode if you want to choose that way. Otherwise, it's one shot. You have, spot metering. I mean, it's just the most basic of basic cameras, but it brings you back to the fundamentals of photography, which is why I like the Leica M so much. It slows down your photography. And because this camera is so small and so stealth, I'm gonna walk through these streets and shoot. Some people will see me and many people won't. You can capture those vivid moments that just makes photography what it's all about. So what's it like to shoot a camera without an LCD display? Actually, it's quite liberating. I shoot film, and I started doing that, I would say about a year ago. I got more into film because, reviewing all these great high-tech cameras, which are phenomenal to use, and I love using them. But I wanted to hone my skills as a photographer, and I thought the best way to do that is to slow it down and get back to film. Because with film, you've got 36 shots if you're doing, 35 millimeter on it, and you don't see what you're taking a picture of. You don't see the end result until you get it developed. And that's what this camera kind of reminds me of. Now, of course, it's digital, so there are some benefits of auto modes. So I have it set on auto ISO, auto shutter speed, so I have those benefits built into the camera, so I don't need to think about those. If I really want to think about those, I can turn it off and I can go to shutter speeds because it goes all the way to 4,000. And then I can go to ISO up to 50,000, which of course nobody ever shoots at, but I can usually around 12,000 or so is a pretty safe bet with this camera, and you get pretty good images out of it. But it's fun to shoot without a screen. It really is. And it's also good because when you're shooting around places like this, You say, I'm just shooting film. They're like, oh, okay, 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 they let you go. Actually, you're not. But they have no idea because there's no screen. If you've never shot with a Leica M, I'd recommend just either going to, a camera shop, a Leica shop, or whatever. Just pick one up and just walk around the shop and use it a little bit. And if you have a friend that has one, ask to borrow it for the day because it's really a unique experience. This is a radical departure. This is compact, but yet you've got some of the finest optical quality out there in photography. Build quality just feels balanced, it feels weighty in the hand. It's just a very organic feel. Like, instead of you feeling like you're taking pictures of people, you feel like you're in the moment with them and you're trying to capture that moment. I know this sounds like a bunch of marketing bullshit, but it's really not. It's actually true when you shoot with a Leica. It has a very unique feel. I don't know how else to explain it. It just does. I enjoy it. Whenever I do photography, I always got to get the motorcycle shot. It looks like a cool one over here. Let's go shoot it real quick. Now, the one thing about this camera that really was polarizing was, of course, the advanced lever on it. And everyone's thinking to myself, is that actually you cock a shot and you can shoot it digitally? No, it became a thumb rest. And I wish it did actually, you could cock it like you do on a normal film camera and then you take a picture. But it does work. And some people say, well, doesn't it feel cheap or flimsy? Look, nothing on a Leica camera feels cheap or flimsy, and this doesn't either. It's actually very, very, very solid. And I mean, I'm holding a lot of my weight on it right now, as you can see, and there's no real flex in this at all. I mean, it feels really good. And now it's time, a moment for the motorcycle pick. I ride a motorcycle, so for me, I'm always loving bikes. Now, sometimes I'll switch between the optical or the EVF. I mean, I think nowadays with technology, I prefer an EVF, but there is a joy in actually using the optical viewfinder, getting that shot in focus, and then seeing the results of it going, I did that, versus, let's say, all these autofocus points nailing the shot for you. I mean, there's something very satisfying. And that's part of the joy of using a Leica, is that I created that shot. It's different. Don't want to explain it, it's just different. Now, if you notice, one thing was, you're seeing me shoot around the streets, is that this camera is not intimidating to a lot of people. And it's also a benefit of shooting with Leica, is you can actually go up to somebody and you can ask, hey, can I take a picture of you? And more times than not, they'll probably say yes, because it's not this big, bulky camera with a big lens in front of them, which is intimidating to a lot of people. It's a small lens, it's a small body, and it's just like, I'm just capturing a moment and I move on. And I think that's why this camera's been used for many years in photojournalism and street photography, and Henri Cartier-Bresson. So many of the great photographers have used this camera and been so successful in capturing these unique moments, is because it blends in. Yeah, that's part of the beauty of it. Now, besides the build quality and what it's like to use, what's the picture quality like? And the picture quality is good. It's really good. It's a 24 megapixel full frame sensor, ISO 100 up to 50,000, again, which you won't ever hit 50,000. But the colors are beautiful out of Leica. I mean, I would say the two camera companies that really have the best color science, in my opinion right now, is Canon and Leica. Leica's colors and just the way it captures images, especially with the lenses, because the lenses have a big deal to do with that. There's just something very emotional about the photos. It's not clinical. Some pictures can be very clinical. I'm gonna be honest with you. Some of the newer lenses can render it almost bitingly sharp, but something like a Summilux 1.4 or even a Noctilux, or even some of the older vintage lenses, which you can still put on this, right? All the way back from the 50s, you can put on this camera and use. There's just a look. They call it that Leica look. You'll know it when you see it. It has a dreamy, sort of emotional feel to the pictures, which I think a lot of camera companies are trying to emulate. They're getting close, especially with the latest technology, but not quite the same. But, I mean, in terms of you're looking for dynamic range, bringing up the lows to the highs and all that kind of stuff, you're gonna be quite limited on these images. But if you're looking for great colors and just great bokeh, it's hard to go wrong with a Leica. Now, talking about image quality here, let's talk about how you get the images out of the camera, because there's no LCD display, right? You can't see them. Well, there's two ways. The SD card slot, which is at the bottom of this, and you just take out the bottom plate, and there's only one SD card slot, by the way. So for all those complaining about SD card slots, go to the Leica SL, they've got two. Leica M's, CL, TL2, Q, one card slot. Another option is using the new Leica Photos app. Now, this camera has Wi-Fi built into it, and you can actually see it here on the dial. You can turn it on, and you can turn on to Wi-Fi. When you turn on Wi-Fi, you're going to see that it'll start blinking green. That allows me to get the Leica Photos app ready to go. Now, it's available on Android and iOS, tablet and phone. And what this does is basically give you all the menu functionality that you're missing in the rear display. It has it all in the app. And you can do this with a wide variety of Leica cameras, actually all of them. So it's not just unique to the Leica M10 D, but if you want the M10 D for its simplicity, you're gonna control the camera through this. It's as simple as that. But you got a lot of functionality in there. You can choose JPEG, DNG, both. You can choose what ISO levels you want to go, minimum or maximum. You've got, if you want continuous shots, let's say 5 shots per second, you can set that up as well. You've got all those things you set up within the app. And you get a chance to see your photos. So what's kind of nice with the M10 D is that after a day of shooting, you can kind of sit at a cafe or at a table like where we're at right now, and I can actually now view my photos. And then I can download them directly in DNG or RAW format to my phone and import them into Lightroom or whatever photo application you want, or upload them to Instagram or Facebook. So it's a really unique way, and it's kind of enjoyable. It's almost like the new way of developing film. You know, instead of taken to a lab and waiting for the processing to be done in an hour and then scanning it, it's basically, you cut a few steps, but it's that like, oh, I took that picture. Oh, wow, that's so cool. Oh, that picture wasn't in focus. Damn, that was a great moment. But that's the beauty of shooting with something like this or with a film camera, is it's all about that anticipation. Did I get that shot right? Instead of spending half your time looking at your screen, zooming in, you're now just looking at the next thing to take a photo of. You're now in the moment more. And that's what makes, I guess, this camera really, really unique. Now, the downside of this app is it's slow as of right now. Now, Leica might come out with an update, I'm sure they will, to update it, but let's say I turn off the screen on this. Every time I go back to the app, I have to reconnect the app to the camera. And this also drains a lot of battery, by the way. This drains a lot of battery. So you don't want to keep this connected all the time, because you're going to get maybe around 100 plus 200 shots and your battery's going to be wiped out really quickly. So get 2 or 3 batteries, FYI. That leads us to some of the things I might not like about the camera. And there's really few things I don't like about it, because you kind of go into this camera knowing what the shortcomings are, and you sort of like those shortcomings. So I knew there wasn't a screen into it, so I'm like, okay, no big deal. I shoot with a Leica film camera, so it's just like that. But I have to say the battery life isn't the greatest on this, especially using the Leica EVF, the VisoFlex. I would say you definitely need to get more than one battery for this camera regardless, because you're not going to get that 700, 800, 1,000 shots as you get on other mirrorless cameras out there. You're not going to get on a Leica. You're going to get about maybe 300 or so, not connecting to the phone and not connecting to the VisoFlex, but connecting to one of these or both at the same time. You'll get 100 plus shots before your battery goes down. Now, Leica could improve that with a firmware update in the future, who knows, but as it stands right now, get a couple batteries. I mentioned that a few times already because you should. What else about the camera I maybe don't like? I kind of wish, it harks us back to the film era. Now, this is just a personal preference in terms of design. Now, over the past few years, Leica's gotten rid of the black paint. And I'm gonna show you what the black paint looks like on my Leica MP film camera. And you're gonna know why I wish they did it with this, because it has such that film-esque look to it. It has that Leica engineering to it with advanced lever and all that. You just go, I want that beautiful black, rich lacquer paint that just makes a Leica camera it just glows, right? It's missing on that. It's a matte black. It's a bit more, I guess it's, in terms of usability, it's much more, you don't see fingerprints, and it's, you're not going to get as many scuff marks on it as you would on the black lacquer paint, but I do miss it. Well, that pretty much wraps up our review of the M10 D. This is, regardless of the screen, I really liked using this camera. This is a lot of fun, and this harks back to my film shooting days, which I still do, by the way, and I really love it. But you get it in digital. Don't have to worry about processing anymore, scanning. But no, it's a beautiful camera. If you have the money, if you have the means, and you're looking for something very unique, I mean, Leica says it's a digital body with an analog soul. Okay, I'll give them that. It's definitely a camera that I think you'll use for a very long time. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the M10 D. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook. Until the next one, take care.